Hello, good evening, and welcome to round 23 of the Teamwork Racing 2020 Championship. Tonight, coming from K21 in the XFG. I'm joined tonight once again by Thilo Falkenberg. Hi, Thilo.
Good evening, everyone.
Thilo making a small comeback to the commentary booth for this series, which is always nice. Um, Qualifying is about to get underway. We have 15 minutes of open qualifying today and two 17-lap races. We'll bring those to you in just a few moments' time. Thilo, what can we expect from the track and combo this evening?
So this open configuration of Kyoto uses the infield section combined with the oval turn 2 as a shortcut, which actually suits very well the GTI cars. And today we are seeing the XF GTI. So it's going to be really interesting racing. Not a lot of straights, but with this car, there can be a lot of battles into all the corners that are around this track. And yeah, we've seen this season already the GTI cars in South City, and this was a phenomenal race with 43 people trying to qualify. I don't think we see this many people here today, but who knows? The races down in South City with the XRG back that day were quite exciting, and I can see this excitement being transferred to Kyoto as well.
Yeah, the XFG and indeed the XRG in Liverspeed do offer some close racing, and with a roughly 1 minute 30 lap time tonight, we're going to see plenty of wheel-to-wheel, bumper-to-bumper racing, um, especially during two 17-lap races. So a longer format this evening than we are used to.
Yes, indeed, but I think well, the cars actually can offer good racing for the whole race distance.
This is one.
It's a
This is
bit
quite a unique track as well, isn't it? Because it's there's not really a straight. There's a couple of straights, but they're very very short, and it's all corners, and it's all quite intense.
I think the longest straight is the one um,
After
fr-
the parabolica, isn't it?
yeah, after the parabolica into this double left-hander, um, which is not really wide. So I guess anyone who's trying to make it three wide there is pretty much destroying a lot of races. Um, but I think this is also the best opportunity to make a pass because it's also one of the slower corners following that straight. The other straights are more into faster corners, and so not a lot of opportunity to use a braking zone to get by someone.
Yeah, it's all going to be done in the corners and with what little slipstream you can get up the straight or around the oval banked turn. We're not using a traditional pit lane here today either. We're using a custom one. Hopefully, no one needs to use it, but it's there nonetheless. And the start straight is slightly unfamiliar as well. It actually uses part of the oval that isn't part of the main course. It's only used for the start, so quite a quite a strange track.
Well, it's a bit like for a lot of rallycross races where you have the starting area not being part of the actual racetrack. So we are going to see somewhat of an whole shot as you got quite a lot of way down into the first braking zone. I think everyone is going to approach turn one at a largely higher speed than they are going to during the race, which is going to be a critical situation in turn one.
Yes, indeed. I have not commentated on a race at K21 before. I have driven K21 before, but not in a league scenario. So I am interested to see what goes down today. Just waiting for qualifying to begin. It's a 15-minute session and it should be underway any minute now. We'll bring you the start when we can. Hello and welcome back to round 23 of the Teamwork Racing 2020 Championship. Qualifying is now underway. We'll bring you the action right now. Thilo, talk us through the track today.
So the cars are now approaching turn 1, which leads into this narrow chicane section, which normally leads the Kyoto National reverse track from the oval into the infield. Then underneath the Chromo Bridge into this uh, kink and into this first long right-hand corner. We're now approaching some corners that are simply taken flat out. No need to brake. And we're now approaching this, what we earlier called Parabolica corner, a long right-hander, which will lead us onto the longest straight on this track. Just crossing a little crest here over the split line and braking into the double left-hander. First, second apex with these cars. The apex are easy to use. And then what is different to normal, you're turning right here, usually missing the first apex to get the second apex right into the right-hander, and on the middle of the oval turn there is the start-finish line. So the first cars are now starting their flying laps.
Yeah, very weird pit exit here today. It goes right onto the track, and people are going to have to be really careful not to get wedged underneath it or crash into it. So yeah, as we mentioned in the pre-show, it is about a 1 minute 35 out lap, which means that we won't start to get our first times until around about 11 minutes to go. So a very short, very intense qualifying session. Not many opportunities to do laps. I don't think many people will be hopping back to the pits because it takes a couple of laps for the tyres to warm up on the XFG. Won't take too long because of the amount of corners. And the start-finish line for this track is weirdly kind of in the middle of the circuit, I believe.
Yeah, it's in the middle of the second oval corner.
There are a couple of variations to this track, aren't there, Thilo, where the start-finish line can be just before where the cars have just gone and also on the home straight, which this configuration uses.
Yeah, there have been multiple interpretations of this very layout. Most of them use the start-finish line here in the oval corner. Some of them use to start on the regular Kyoto start-finish grid, mostly because during that time there were no custom grids possible. For example, City Leaguer did a race with the Fox around this configuration where they had a long hole shot starting from the regular pit lane.
Yeah, I like this combo, and I like that we are having it with the XFG today. It has been used with faster cars, as you say, but it's definitely a good track for the GTIs. Big enough that it's not too tough on the tyres and not too long that there's too many straights for drafting opportunities. Drivers have a lot to do all of the time, and Renault Koets enters the longest straight on this track. He's currently our provisional pole sitter with a 1 minute 36.41.
But looking at the split times, they are quite a bit faster than on his first lap, so I suspect he's going to improve his lap time, which is an indicator for what you've been talking about earlier, that the tires are not the best right after leaving the pit lane, but need a bit of tire warming.
Yeah, Renault Koets does improve, but other drivers behind are also improving, so expect to see the order shuffling up a little bit as all the drivers make their way around for their second time lap. I reckon they'll get about 3 or 4 really good laps towards the end of this session. We are already approaching halfway, but as the tyres begin to warm up, drivers will get faster and faster. Here we see Sidus's Rick Cardle currently in P number 2. He's very close behind Renault Koets. Currently just over a tenth separates the two drivers.
But Rick Cardle bailed on his lap.
Yeah,
A
electing
little
to
bit
do a
of
bit of
tire
tyre
warming.
warming. He exits the final corner now and wants to build up for a hot lap.
It's quite difficult to hit that apex onto the oval because of the undulation from the mostly flat infield into the bank corner.
Yeah, it's tricky to get the exit right so that you don't clout the wall on the exit. Even though it is really banked, it's deceptive. You can carry a deceptively large amount of speed through it, and it sometimes can catch you out. So far, this is looking like a nice lap from Rick. Currently 28 drivers have set a lap time, so a good turnout for qualifying. Arco's up there in 4th. Series newcomer Born to Race Spikey in P number 5. Great to see new faces this far into the season. It's not too late to sign up. We're on round 23 of 44 of the TRR 2020 Championship. Sign up on the LFS forum in the Team Up Racing forum section. Rick comes over the second split time and now has to get on the brakes for the double left-hander at the end of the straight, and then immediately into a double right. A corner complex unique to this configuration. And as I mentioned, he taps the wall because it does creep up on you. Across the line he comes and does not improve.
Probably the touch of the wall was too much for his lap time. Up to that point, the split times were pretty good and may have been good enough to challenge Renault Koots for the pole position.
It's really close times in the midfield, as we have come to expect in this series, but for a 1 minute 30 lap time in the XFG, we only have 9 drivers within a second of the pole time so far. Approaching 5 minutes to go, as Maddie takes over P2 in the provisional table, forcing Rick Cardle down to 3rd.
Something which is different to most other liver speed tracks is simply the fact it's not used that often. I think any other track is used a lot more frequent than this open configuration. So thereby the track knowledge is a factor that we can't underestimate.
Yeah. Renault Koots completes another lap. Doesn't improve, but he's just getting some laps under his belt. These tyres are able to do a lot of laps without really losing any performance, and drivers would prefer to stay out on slightly worse rubber if it means that they get more laps in. You don't want to do a 1 minute 40 out lap every 2 laps, because that means you only get half the number of attempts. Trespasser
Just saw a great split time by Maddie, who was crossing split 2 with a 1:10.09. So far the fastest I have seen throughout the grid. However, in the braking zone there was still Chris McElroy, so he had to abort his lap. Otherwise he would definitely have been on pole position.
So lap traffic coming into play here. Pole position is obviously the position that every driver wants, even if it doesn't give them the best run on the start of a race. But here in the XFG, where the run to the first corner is pretty short and there's no rear-wheel drive XRG to contend with it off the line, I expect that whoever takes pole will probably lead into turn 1. That's where you want to be.
I agree. However, I think that the places behind that are going to be more of a risk. I suspect there's going to be a large, what do you call it, carbon zone in the mid-pack, simply because the speeds they are approaching for turn 1 are going to be greater than during the usual race. as you have got more time to accelerate towards turn 1 compared to when you are coming around the last corner.
Paolo is stationary on the exit of turn 1, not sure why. Just deciding to maybe chill his tyres down, or not sure why he's parked up there, but anyway, he's in P9 right now. There's a whole train of Team Up Racing cars from 11 to 13. Gavin, Pete, Japan and Texas.
Quite surprising to see Gavin Pete so far down. He's been in a very good position with the XRG in South City. With the XFG in Fern Bay in round 17, where he won the first race. So seeing him down in 11th position.
Yeah, not his normal place. Yeah, we mentioned this earlier in the season, but the nature of the Team Up Racing Championship is such that there's not really been a standout driver yet because of the constantly changing track and car. It is quite unusual not to see a driver who is really consistent. Obviously, there's a whole load of drivers who are there or thereabouts. But yeah, still plenty of rounds to go. And as we reach the pointy end of the season, maybe we'll start to see these standout performances round after round. Maddie has taken over pole position by 0.02 of a second over Renault Koets. Maddie, one of the guys who has performed time and time again when he's made an appearance in this series.
But then again, he's just making sporadic appearances.
Yeah, the clock ticks down to 0. That's it for qualifying. Everybody on a lap will be able to complete it. We're riding on board with Renault Koets, the only man who is within touching distance of Maddie. Everyone else over 1.5 off. As he runs a little bit wide. Takes plenty of curb on the inside of the sweeping chicane in the infield. And heads towards the Parabolica. It's more parabolic than the Parabolica at Monza. And now it's heavy on the brakes for the double left. And he bails his lap. So it doesn't look like anybody's going to challenge Maddie for the pole position.
Last car on a fast lap seems to be Pekka Koivunen in the 77 black and yellow car of World Class Lions.
And he comes across the line now.
And he improves into 16th position.
And that rounds out our results. Yeah.
Yeah. So we are going to see a double pole for Team Rock Racing with Maddie on P1, Koets in P2. Then it's Sidus Rickcardle in front of Born to Race Spikey, the rookie in this series. Arco from Conquest Racing in 5th, TJ for Roda Preda in 6th. Then it's Trespasser for Yes Motorsports, Race Green's Magic in 8th. 9th, Yes Motorsports Gabor. 10th, Team Rock Racing's Texas. 11th, Polo for Roda Presa. 12th, Energy Virtual Racing's Kaike Piroppo. 13th, Team Rock Racing's Zaban. 14th, TC Racing's Adam. 15th, Team Rock Racing Gavin Pete, followed by World Class Lions Pekka Koivunen. Yes Motorsports Unite in 17th. Then it's Born to Race Reject. 19th position for Team Rock Racing's Frank, followed by Master Race Car Michael. Born to Race Twin. World Class Lions in 22nd and 23rd with Timo Soini and Ioni Katida. Roda Presa Pedro in 24th. Jari Katila in 25th. Team Rock Racing Salmonen and Kryn in 26th and 27th. 28th Mandula for Race Green. And 29th and last TC Racing's Elmo.
Thanks for that rundown, Thilo. We'll be back in just a minute for the start of race number 1 of round 23 of the Team Rock Racing 2020 Championship. Don't go anywhere. Welcome back to the TRR Racing 2020 Championship. We're about to get going for race number 1, and as we mentioned before we went away, we have a
We're
very
all
weird
red,
start.
and we're green.
Cars immediately kind of falling down the oval because of the banking as we head round through across the start finish line. Looks like Coots is going to try and make a move around the outside already. They're side by side as we enter into turn number 1, but yeah, as expected, Maddie gets a great run. Here come all the cars concertina. We've got a bit of an accident in the background, but everyone will work themselves out eventually. Maddie with a great start then. Renault Coots following through. Got a couple of cars off in the background.
But still everyone is pointing into the right direction, so no one's lost already. No one's lost yet.
Plenty of body barging going on between the World Class Lines drivers at the back of the pack. Maddie leads from Renault Coots.
Ooh! Yannick Katina, half spin, can straighten the car back up. Losing 3 positions. Oh, and now Jari Katina gets a touch by Unite.
That's what I like to see with the XRGs. Big pack racing, and a track like this just generates such fascinating battles. We've got 2 wide, 3 wide, all sorts going on. Still the World Class Lines drivers are side by side, and Team Up Racing and Born to Race in the background knocking on the door. Still they hold it side by side. Wow. And a bit of contact there, but everyone files back onto the oval, no problem. Maddie's pulled out a gap over Renault Coots, who's defending hard from Rick Cardle for Sidus.
Oh, Arco with...
Oh, wow.
Whoa!
Arco with such a run that he just spooked Rick, who wasn't ready for that, and the two spin out, so not ideal there.
Not at all. Ricardo now rejoining in 11th position. Always takes a little moment until positions update on an open configuration.
Yeah, we only get position updates at the split times. But Championship newcomer Spikey up to 3rd place with TJ hunting him down. It's all going off in the background. We've got Jaban in the middle of Adam and Trespasser now. And more contact behind for Arco as he moves in front of Kaike Paroppo. And Born to Race Twin is in the background there as well.
Ooh.
More contact for Arco. Team Rock Racing driver there. Not happy about that.
Oh, Trespasser getting spinned around and joining the spectators.
Yeah, just missed that. We expected to see some door banging, but some drivers just not enjoying being side by side through some of these twisty corners. And such is the way with the XFG. Quite a flat-sided car that you end up with some really strange contacts. We're watching Race Green's Magic, who's found himself in P number 7. He was just overtaken by Yes Motorsports Gabor a moment ago, but he's now under pressure from Road Appraiser's Paolo as we head on to...
Oh, Gabor runs wide.
The next long straight. He does indeed. Oh, he kind of blocks Paolo there. We're going to be 3 wide nearly before we enter the Parabolica.
They have 3 wide in the Parabolica. Gabor has the shortest path. And Ricardo comes from behind.
Yeah, out of nowhere,
Now,
Rick Cardle side by side with Magic. Magic with the better line, but will Rick try and hang it around the outside? He does, and he'll have too much overspeed. He goes onto the gravel, and that'll lose him a ton of time. Meanwhile,
Not only that, he caught the front quarter panel of Magic there, which probably redirected him into the gravel. Texas and TJ side by side for P4. TJ with a better turn 1.
we're looking at TJ's blue and green car from the cockpit of Team Rock Racing's Texas. Can he try and find the way around in the infield? All the while that they're battling, that's going to be giving Gabor the time he needs behind to close this gap. But it looks like it's opened up a little bit in the infield.
And behind Gabor, Magic and Paolo now side by side. Through these wide open corners. Oh, Paolo!
Ooh, getting onto the grass. So yeah, really unsettling the car. You don't want to get any grass or any dirt on the tyres of the XFG on a track with so many corners, especially not the fronts. That is a recipe for understeer. Got more action going off in the background, Thilo.
Kaiki Pirappo and Japan now battling for 10th position. Japan with the shorter line into the double left-hander.
Yeah, Magic giving Gabor all sorts of trouble. Sorry, Texas a lot of trouble. And Rick Cardle's up there now as well. These guys are going to be all over each other as we come through turn number 1. Rick really opting to take the outside line and just kind of carrying more overspeed in the hope that he'll find a way past. It hasn't worked for him earlier in this race. He takes the inside line and Magic gives him enough room. That has, however, let Paolo get away a little bit. They're still side by side. Magic's not going to give up the place. Perfectly within his right to hold that line. And Rick Cardle not able to move around the outside that time, and that'll give Magic the space for the chicane. Adams side by side with Kaike Parappo now. Battle for P number 11. Nose to tail. Adam moves to the inside for the Parabolica. Kaike backs off a little bit too late to try and make the undercut work, but gets some good drive nonetheless. And yep, they're side by side again as we run down to the double left.
Yes, here Knight lurking in the back. Getting the overspeed to the inside of Kaiki. And at least for now, side by side.
Ooh, more contact. And that slows Unite down a load, and that's going to give Gavin Peat the run. Gavin Peat quite low down here, only just inside, or knocking on the door of the top 10, but still a way away from it. Japan, his teammate, currently occupies the top 10 spot. So yeah, some names that we're not used to seeing so far down, in kind of in the mid-pack right now.
It's a bit like what you see in leagues with success ballast.
Yeah, meanwhile, look at the gap that Team Up Racing's Maddie has managed to pull out over his teammate Renault Coots. And likewise, Renault Coots has managed to drop Born to Race's Spiky quite a way behind.
Well, one must say that the third car that could match the pace of Maddie and Kutz was Ricardo's car in qualifying, and he got taken out of the contest at the sharp end of the field. Gabor now side by side with Paolo. Paolo in the blue car, Gabor in the white car. But as long as you've got the inside... Oh!
Very unorthodox line out of that corner.
And
Went
it
a bit
nearly
wide.
worked, but now Rick Cardle is having a run. Which proves that sometimes the more orthodox approach to a corner is the better one.
Yeah, all the cars behind Rick are now starting to stack up, and behind there we've got Magic, Gabor, and Jaban all in a line. That's one thing that Live for Speed does really well, and it's close pack racing. And the XFG is one of those cars where it might not be fast, but some of the racing and the close quarters battles that you can have in it are just some of the best. And we're seeing the fruits of that right now as Magic sends it up the inside of Yes Motorsports Gabor. And Jaban will be licking his chops as we head down to the double left, hoping that these two tangle or something so he can have a run perhaps. Up ahead, Ricardo kind of sizing up Paolo once again. Electing for the outside line, which hasn't worked again for Rick. And that's going to let Magic slot through, and yeah, Gabor will follow through as well, and they'll be side by side.
And we again saw that Ricardo opts for the outside in the double left-hander and draws the shortest draw.
I wonder how many of the drivers in this race have driven this combo before, this K21 combination. It was quite popular back in the day when OpenConfig was announced, especially on the multi-class servers, as Adam's got himself under a bit of pressure once again from Kaike.
But Adam also closed the gap to Japan and the group in front.
While pack racing is fun, if you're at the front of the race, it's less fun because everyone behind tends to slow themselves down, squabbling, and you're just left to run away and have a quiet battle.
Oh, Unite to the inside of Piroppo. Very
Seriously late
late
on the
dive.
brakes.
It even looked more spectacular on the stream than it did on the server. And Ricardo opts for the inside line and suddenly he overtakes a car.
Well, he's been up and down, hasn't he? He was all the way at the front at the start, and he's down to P8 now. Yeah, he needs to change up his strategy. He's using the outside line into the double left-hander more times than he should be, really. Just doesn't
Oh,
seem to
and
be working for him.
Paolo hit the wall under braking, which opens the door for Rick.
Yeah, Rick opting for the cutback there rather than sending it around the outside. That will leave him in his favourite place for turn 3. Can Magic get in amongst this as well? Yet again, Rick trying to run it around the outside, and he might just make it this time. What a move. That was great. And in fact, yeah, Paolo onto the grass. That's going to give Magic the run he needs. They'll be side by side through the infield chicane. I do wonder sometimes whether the sausage curves on the infield chicane, I don't know why they're so inset. Like, they're so far away from the apex of the corner. Wondering what sort of racing they were designed for. None of the cars in Live for Speed, certainly.
Well, they were designed before such sausage curbs became popular. Oh, well, we've got a car off in the Parabolica, and it's Pekka Koivunen, who's now rejoining the track way down and in the middle of a fighting group. A couple of cars overtaking him to the left, to the right. So he's down now in 27th position and penultimate position.
Yeah, that was a costly error. I wonder how he ended up on so far into the gravel at Parabolica. Maybe he was involved in some contact with someone.
Judging from the angle he was recovering from, it might very well be the case.
Race Screen's Mandula is driving an XFG with a skin from an FZR on it. Last minute skin, I'm sure, but yeah, it's quite amusing.
Might be art.
Is that what they're calling it these days? Mandula is sizing up
Yes.
the back of Chris McElroy for TC Racing. He's got the run, but where will he make the move? He's going to go for the outside as Elmo defends the inside. But not able to capitalise on the exit. Elmo with a good line through the Parabolica. Maddie's on to lap 11 of 17. 7 laps to go. And he has a comfortable lead. Which will be, if it stays like this, will be completely eradicated as we head into race 2, which is fully reverse grid.
We've got a big gaggle of cars from 14th down to 19th. Currently led by Kaiki Piroppo.
It's all going off in the background as Frank's under pressure from B2R's reject. And reject now side by side with Road Appraiser's Pedro. And he makes the move. Looks like Frank's got some rear right damage on that car. He's been hit, or he's hit an object. It looks rather like object damage to me rather than car damage, unless he got sandwiched in the wall. And Pedro with a trip over the anti-cuts there. Gets a bit of a run on Frank, but won't be alongside into Parabolica.
Compromised Frank's line though. However, the group in front got even compromised. Got compromised even more, so they are not losing contact.
Yeah, Yoni Katila now side by side with Kaike Haropo of Energy Virtual Racing. Lots of drivers electing to try this outside line, which just doesn't seem to be working for anybody. Oh, and then a big cutback, and that's going to be into the wall for Kaike.
Oh,
Narrowly
Adam got
avoids.
spun! Right in front of them, Adam got spun around by Arco. Both now on the grass to the inside of the oval.
Yeah, more costly position losses. Adam and Arco down to 19th and 20th, and more contact between Arco, and that's Kryn. Kryn into the tyre stacks at turn number 1. Very heavy damage to that car. Kryn, one of the series organisers and race stewards, I'm sure he won't be happy with that.
Also, Arco again involved in some, well, let's call it intense situation.
Getting stuck in, certainly.
We do have a battle group for 7th position with Paulo, Gabor, Magic, Japan, and Unite. Japan to the inside of Unite now.
Yeah, Japan defending from
Oh,
Magic and overtaking Unite on the inside. A very nice move.
yeah, Unite clipped one of the sausages to the inside of the, well, transition from infield to oval in a seemingly bad angle.
Yeah, the shortest slice of the oval that it's possible to have, pretty much. It's Kyoto, unless you count KY. Which track is it that goes outfield to infield immediately at that same corner?
I
K31?
think, is it 30? Is this 31?
This is 21.
21. Ah,
It
okay.
might be
Yeah,
31.
31. No, 32, because
32 goes
31
the other way
is.
around the oval, doesn't it?
Hmm.
Anyway, that's a question for another time. Unite's made up another place and is now all over the back of Japan.
Oh,
Oh, spooks Japan on the brakes a little bit. Japan peeps the horn as to say, I'm not your brakes.
thank you very much. Please stay 1.5 meters away from me. Or 6 feet if you use imperial units.
Pedro,
Oh,
Pedro, Pedro.
I think Paulo.
Paolo, Paolo, Paolo. Yeah, this midfield pack just don't seem to be able to move away from each other. Yeah, free air is just not a thing right now between these guys. You'd think in such a long race like this, 17 laps, that drivers would have found their space more quickly, but maybe some of the drivers who didn't prioritise qualifying practice, who found themselves lower down at the start, have had to make their way through the hard way. A couple of drivers who were trying to get to the pointy end of the field, but it just didn't work out for Conquest Racing Arco and TC Racing's Adam, still down in 19th and 20th respectively. Magic has dropped down quite a way as well. But Jaban and Gabor, two of the drivers who have had quite a good race, solidly inside the top 10, which is where they need to be if they stand any chance of doing well in the overall championship, as Paolo gets very sideways through the double left.
Just taking a look at the gaps, we've got P7 down to P20 within 10 seconds, which shows you how dense the midfield is.
Yeah, I can definitely feel something brewing for the end of the race, as Frank gets all over the back of Pedro, with Gavin Peat just ahead, and that's Kaike Piroppo in the stock red, blue and white LFSRU livery. Goes onto the grass.
Oh,
Ooh, Frank forces. Well, I guess not forces. I think Kaike was just trying to find a gap that just didn't exist, and it's going to
yeah,
be a tricky
definitely
one.
looked like that. Kaike slots back in 20th position.
Maddie comes round the final two corners to exit back onto this short oval section between ovals turn, I guess it's oval turn 3, and begins the penultimate lap of race number 1.
Yeah, and TJ closed the gap to Sparky.
Yeah, it's been coming down the whole race. It's just been coming down very slowly. We'll see whether in the last couple of laps whether TJ can get the move done. Spiky is, to anyone who knows, somewhat of a GTI specialist. I'm sure he won't mind me saying that. And he's proving his worth today in P3 currently, trailing the Team Up Racing guys by a fair margin, but nonetheless, podium is a podium as TJ sets his eyes on that podium position. Spiky with a very wide line into turn 3, and that set TJ up in the slipstream for the Parabolica. Biding his time, moves to the outside. He'll have to go late on the brakes if he wants to make that work. Cuts to the inside, sells Spiky the dummy, and they're going to be side by side as we run down to the double left. Ooh, leaving each other no
TJ,
room.
yeah, TJ slotting back into the line right in front of Spiky.
It's
And
not over.
defends now.
Spiky did not elect for the cutback, just tried to hang it around the outside a bit longer than he needed to, and compromised his exit onto the oval somewhat. And I'd say that move is made as we're on the final lap now, unless TJ makes a mistake. I'd say P3 was his after that nice setup, but
But
never say
Spiky is
never.
still on the bumper of TJ.
Battle behind has closed up too between Texas and Rick Cardle. Rick, after that shaky start, just trying to get a feel for the race again, and he's made his way back up to P6, which is decent. But will he be able to make up any more? He's got one more place really that's available to him, and that's the blue and grey car of Team Up Racing's Texas. He's going to try and size him up onto the run up to Parabolica. We saw TJ pull this exact move off the lap previous. But Texas is wise and covers the inside so that Rick couldn't fall down and take the opportunity there. So Rick has one more opportunity to go.
Maddie comes around the last corner.
Maddie wins race number 1 of round 23 of the Team Up Racing Championship. Well done to him. He'll be closely followed by Team Up Racing's Renault Coots. Solid result for Team Up
Oh, and
Racing.
Ricardo with a better line onto the oval. Side by side to the line. Texas having to go the longer way, but... Ooh, just keeps it. Just keeps the nose ahead.
Yeah, we saw TJ and Spiky cross the line, and Texas just able to edge out Rick Cardle at the line. Team Up Racing's Japan will cross the line in 7th. Then it's Unite, Gabor, Paolo, Magic for race green, Yoni Katilla for World Class Lions, Road Appraisers Pedro in P13, Team Up Racing's Gavin, Pete and Frank in P14 and 15, Conquest Racing Arco after a few bumps and scrapes throughout the race, and a spin with Adam and a spin with someone else at the final corner as well, ends in P16. Adam P17. Twin for Born to Race in 18th. Kaike Paroppo for Energy Virtual Racing finishes P19. Born to Race Reject P20. Team Up Racing Crin in 21st. Jari Katila 22nd. World Class Lions Pekka Koivunen 23rd. Master Race Cars Michael 24th. TC Racing's Chris McElroy P25. Race Green Mandula in P26. Then at the back it's World Class Lions Timu Soini and Tom Sauernen for Team Up Racing, 28th and last in race number 1. It's quite a drawn out race. The leader's able to get away and stay there pretty much from the get-go, but some good battling in the midfield as well as a few scrapes and spins which I'm sure will be looked at afterwards. Tom Salmon will line up on the front row alongside Teemu Soini for the start of race 2. And we will bring you that in just a few moments' time. Thilo, how would you summarise race number 1?
Well, as you pointed out, the top positions were never contested. However, the midfield battles made up for that. Actually, we've seen up to 15 cars battling for position, just bumper to bumper racing, which was great to follow, and which also sets the bar for race 2, as the top runners are going to have a hard time going through this densely packed midfield. So I could think we might have some interesting names at the end of the second race on the podium.
I wouldn't be surprised. I think with a 30 car field near enough, it's going to be very difficult for the guys at the back to find a way through cleanly. I think cleanly is the main point to make here. They might have the pace, but unless you can avoid the 27 other moving chicanes, it's a tall order. The only saving grace is that we have 17 laps. And Tilo, how long was the last race?
That have been 27 and a half minutes.
Right, so probably probably if not the longest race of the Team Up Racing Championship so far, and we've got another one coming up. Um, yeah, so 27 minutes to get from the back to the front. It could be possible. It'll be a challenge. Can Maddie do it? Join us very shortly for the start of race number 2 here on simbroadcasts.tv. Welcome back to the start of race number 2 here on simbroadcasts.tv. The drivers are all lined up. Thilo, take us away for the start.
3 red lights there, and Tom Salmonen on pole position sees the green light. The cars are accelerating away from their starting grid positions, directly falling down the oval and into turn 1 they go.
Look at them all side by side.
Michael with a deep dive to second position, but doesn't get the run out of turn 1. So
Look at the 3
Mandula
world-class
keeps it.
Lions cars. Oh, they've forced one another off. And we've got bumping and grinding. We've got world-class Lions cars all over the place. That's TC Racing's Chris McElroy making a move on Michael. Down into P number 3. Tom Salmon with a great start. for Team Up Racing. Wonder whether his...
Oh, someone's on the roof. I think it's Jarek Attia. No, he's back on the wheels and getting back onto the racetrack.
Yeah, so not a great start for World Class Lines in race 2. They were bumping off each other, but it looked like. There goes another one. So yeah, Tom Salminen leads from Race Green's Mandula with a comfortable gap. Then it's Master Race Cars Michael. TC Racing's Elmo and Adam are being sized up by Reject and Pekka Koivunen. Oh, contact between the TC Racing drivers, forcing Adam slightly wide there. And interestingly, Renault Coots, who finished the previous race in P2, is already up to P number 16. Maddie P19 as it stands. Ricardo somewhere in the middle. So some drivers at the back already with really great starts.
Oh, the TC Racing cars again hitting each other. Adam lost the position there to Gavin Pete.
Gavin Pete in a TC Racing sandwich right now. He pulls to the inside on Elmo. Elmo able to hold the car around the outside though, and they're going to be 3 wide.
Looks like Gavin slots right in front of Adam there. Adam to the inside of Chris. Chris on the grass. Now losing a ton of positions as Frank and Kaiki Piroppo are approaching very rapidly.
Yeah, Frank trying to make his way around his teammate now. Gavin Pete. I have to say the start of this race was a lot cleaner than the last one, which I think is the first time we're ever going to say that in the Team Up Racing Championship.
Kaiki Piroppo to the inside of Chris McElroy. Late dive, but Chris sees him in the rear view mirror.
Magic, meanwhile, is side by side with Rick Cardle again, as they were basically the whole of the last race. And that's Pedro, who's being bumped a little bit by Yes Sports Unite in the Layout Racing League skin. Although we're not covering that series, it's probably right to give it a shout out. It's a great little series, sanctioned by NDR this year. Go and check that out on the LFS forum if you're interested in some less orthodox racing in Liver Speed around some great custom layouts. Mandula under pressure now by Michael for Master Race Car. This is the battle for P2. Michael moves to the outside through the chicanes, but Mandula with the tighter line will maintain that onto this short run up to Parabolica.
Michael with a little homage to the SpaceX project on his rear wing. Two very interesting skins there fighting each other.
Yeah. Mandula keeps the place for now, but all the while that these guys are battling, this is giving everyone behind the opportunity to catch up, including Reject, Koivunen, TC Racing's Adam, who kind of looks like had contact with Gavin Pete, and Gavin ended up in the wall, and that's given Frank the run around the outside, and he's being pushed by Kaike Piroppo, and it seems to have worked.
Yes, I think I've seen some phantom contacts there. Ooh.
More bumping. Rick Kyl's going to move up the inside now on Kaike Piroppo, so didn't quite work out that for Kaike. He was on the outside for turn 1, which isn't the best place to be when you've got those tyres and rumble strips littering the outside edge of that corner. And now Rick Cardle's turn to bump draft Gavin Pete. Through the chicane we go. Kaike's side by side with Rick as we head on to the short run up to Parabolica. And looks like he's made the move even before we end up at the corner. But he's in the wrong place. Rick will take that back. Oh, contact. Kaike not really observing the amount of room that he had left, and that's cost him 4 or 5 places now.
Though it's always difficult with, well, long internet connections.
Yeah, certainly. Yeah, I think it's great that we do have such an international field at these races. Not to forget that South Americans, North Americans, Europeans, and even some Asians, people from all over the place competing in this series. Ooh, as Elmo forces the car of Road Appraiser's TJ off onto the grass. That's going to leave him side by side with Kaike Proper as we head into the infield. I suppose all of this track is infield, really. It's difficult to know what to
There's
call it.
hardly any oval.
Yeah, the outfield is one corner. One very short slice of the Kyoto ring in Live for Speed. Update on the cars that started at the back of this race who won the previous race. Coots, who came P2, is up to P12, and Maddie's still down in P17, so Coots with a much better start. And TJ, who finished 3rd, is in 14th.
Currently battling with Chris McElroy.
Yep.
Elmo runs wide there. And loses 2 positions actually to TJ and to Kaike Piroppo.
We're riding on board with Race Green Autosports Magic as he sets his sights on the 15th place car of TC Racing's Chris McElroy. Thinks better of the move into the inside for turn number 1. Tyres fly everywhere from a car off.
Ricciardo! That's been Ricciardo who's throwing tyres all around.
Another. So it's gone from bad to worse for Rick.
Yeah, he was up in 6th.
Yeah, he had a great start to this race. He was one of the drivers who started to the lower end, but yeah, up to P6 and then all the way back down to P21. That's a dismal afternoon for him. Tom Salmonen, similar situation to what was happening last race at the front, a Teamwork Racing driver driving away
But
from the rest of the field.
Mandula 3 wide, 4 wide, 2 wide.
Good spot. Ooh, contact between Born to Race and TCR, and more contact. And that's going to give Frank a run. Frank with a good exit. He's going to swing past. Is that Pekka Koivunen? It is Pekka Koivunen. Down into the double left-hander, where it's all going off ahead as well.
Reject to the inside of Mandula and Adam.
Ooh, contact again. This is the battle for the podium positions, remember?
Mandula defending bravely, but this is opening Adam the door, not quite enough.
Adam and Mandula on the low line. Born to Race Reject on the high line. They're nearly 3 wide. They are 3 wide. Adam around the outside. It's not where you want to be for turn 1.
But using the handbrake.
They leave each other space just about, but Reject, who chose the higher line, absolutely profits from that. But goes onto the grass. You had it all worked out and then it's gone wrong. There's going to be a 5-car battle for this final podium position. And
we're not even at the halfway point of this race.
Salmon and Michael. Look at all the cars queuing up behind this now.
Adam, interesting line, giving him the run.
Yeah, Adam now side by side with Born to Race Reject. The 2 cars behind, that's Pekka Koivunen and Frank in the 2 yellow machines. Frank with a great run there. He's going to be alongside Reject by the time he gets to Parabolica. A bit of contact. Frank almost up the inside of Adam there and does manage to get the car slowed down. A great move, but Reject dropping back now.
But Adam nearly to the inside of Mandula there, as Mandula took a very wide line through the Parabolica. Adam crisscrossing. Inside braking, Mandula leaves room, and Adam to third position.
So yeah, after not a great race one, he's managed to find his way up into the podium position for now. Goodness knows what's going to happen for the remainder of this race. It seems like everything's changing every corner. Mandula now under threat from Frank. And Frank needs to watch out from Pekka Koivunen because Pekka Koivunen's got Renault Koets, the last race P2 finisher, bearing down on this group. Can't imagine it's going to take Koets long to get through here.
Oh, to the in. Oh.
Ooh, nearly rolls it.
Big contact with Pekka Koivunen, who's losing a lot of momentum.
Yeah, Koivunen's going to get swamped now. There's two Road Appraiser cars there. It's Kaike Paroppo in the white car. Ooh, has to take to the off track there.
Also looked a little bit like a phantom contact. Oh, Pedro's car coming from behind and looking not very like he got it from a car dealer just moments ago.
Oh, it's all getting quite close quarters in the back again. Kaike is being bumped by TJ.
Oh,
Kevin
Pete.
Pete getting spun round.
Oh,
Oh, and
Chris.
Koivunen again. Koivunen getting
Oh.
absolutely smashed by that. Who was that? Was that
Gabor.
Gabor?
That was Gabor who.
Yeah, that's Koivunen's race over. That was just unlucky. He got spun round and then collected by cars who basically had nowhere to go. Kind of sympathise with that. Meanwhile, back at the front, Adam in P number 3, being chased by Frank in P4. Then it's Renault Koets in P5, and this big gaggle of cars where Mandula's actually dropped down to P10 after the first corner there.
Not quite sure what happened there.
Judging by the other incidents we've seen in this race at that corner, probably imagining he was on the outside.
Oh, Reject, Piroppo and Unite 3 wide through the sweeping corners. Oh, Unite making it 3 wide again over the grass. To the inside of Piroppo, pushing Piroppo out. That's opening the door for TJ again.
This gaggle of 4 cars. Kaike doing very well in this race, getting stuck in and profiting quite a bit from some of these moves he's
Braking
making.
3 wide. Yeah. Oh, Kaike running wide.
3 wide at the apex. This is absolutely crazy driving right now.
But they keep the cars pointing into the right direction somehow.
I mean, I'm all for touring cars, but this is more like bumper cars at this point. Keep it safe, peeps. Unite opting for this wide line into turn 1 that so often goes wrong, but sometimes pays off. He's going to get a good run on TJ here. Yeah, he's going to do the switchback. Needs to be careful though, he's got Reject behind him. And Spiky, who finished P4 in the last race. More bump drafting going on.
Oh, Reject. Thought he was taking a look at the inside of Unite.
As we look down from this helicopter shot, you can see Unite there in the red and black car, sizing up the back of TJ as we make our run down to Parabolica for the 10th time in race 2. 8 laps to go. including this one. Oh, a big send between the Born to Race teammates. Spiky with a great move there up the inside of Reject. But it's not over. Reject fancies his chances down into the double left, but he needs to be careful because right behind.
Oh, Maddie!
Oh!
Oh!
Well, teammates taking each other out. That's not something either of them wanted to do. But Jaban, the big winner out of that. Or Maddie, in fact, not Jaban. Sorry, they're running very similar paints. Yeah, Maddie up to P9 with Rick Cardle right behind. The big winner out of that.
Spiky down in 20th now.
Yeah, that was a huge, he was off in the gravel. There was nothing he could have done to get that car moving any quicker than he did. Magic's got himself in an interesting little fight here. He's trying to get past Gavin Pete, who has a little bit of right rear quarter panel damage.
Oh, Pirappa and TJ. And Unite joining the two Brazilians.
Kaike in the white car. Unite trying to keep it with TJ around the outside. It seems to have paid off. Kaike just couldn't keep the power down. And he's clear.
Oh, we missed Adam to second position.
Yeah, so Michael falls to third. I mean, this battle from second onwards is now...
First onwards. I think Salmon is losing pace.
Okay, so yeah, with 6 laps to go, it does indeed look like Salmon could be caught by this chasing pack. There's 4 of them. There's Adam, Michael, Frank, and last race, P number 2, Renault Coots. Look at the gap. Look at the group behind them as well. This is turning into peloton racing rather than car racing. Little packs forming. A group of, well, Salmon on his own, then a group of 4, and then this group of 5, which is being led by TJ and Unite. Something for everyone in this race.
In motorbikes, when the Moto3 class races at the MotoGP events. Frank to the inside of Michael leaving the room. And Kurtz taking advantage of his teammate opening the room. Michael is boxed in.
Yeah, we're watching the action from the rear view window of TC Racing's Adam. They're going 3 wide in the background. You've got Frank in the black and yellow car. Renault Coots in the gold and or orange and white car, and then Michael in the this way up red and white XFG at the back of that trio. Ooh, Adam takes a huge amount of anti-cut there, and that's not going to help him as we run onto the oval. 5 laps to go.
Renault Coots to the inside of Frank. No defense by the TRR teammate.
So yeah, Renault Coots is now on the podium in both races, provisionally, of course, with the fastest lap as well in this race, which is impressive given that he's been carving his way through the field. Normally you expect the drivers in clear air who are out front to be setting the pace, but as is the way with reverse grid racing, that doesn't always happen. What's going on elsewhere down the grid, Thilo?
Still a big fight for 8th position now with Unite and Ricardo in this larger group with TJ and Kaike Pirappo. But I think the closest battle on track is the battle for second position.
Yeah, we're riding on board with Renault Coots, and the purple car up ahead is Tom Salmonen for TRR, who's currently leading this race. Renault Coots is now under threat from his teammate Frank. But if Frank's got any sense, he'll let his faster teammate through to try and make this a 1-2-3. All they need to do is get past TC Racing's Adam, and that will be that.
Adam made good progress with Salmonen, halving the gap after taking second position. But now he has to look into the rearview mirror.
Yeah, it's starting to get awfully close for this P2 and indeed P1. I reckon Coots has the time, judging by his pace, to overcome both of the cars ahead, but we know how good a defender Adam has been.
Oh, Salmonen runs a little bit wide. And he's lost quite significant amount of momentum there.
As the laps tick away, is there enough time? I mean, judging by the battle behind, Renault Coots and Adam side by side there, a little bit of contact as well, but now Adam is right up the bumper of Tom Salmonen as we head into the final few corners of the lap. It's going to be side by side into the final corner, bit of contact, Adam opting to push Salmonen instead. This is letting Renault Coots get a bit of an advantage. Contact,
Oh,
Adam onto the grass, there's going to be contact with
oh,
Coots
and
as well.
Coots.
And Adam manages to hold the slide. I don't know who to attribute blame to there, but
Oh, Coots. More contact now with Michael. Michael, who goes into fourth position. Adam and Frank having a go at P2.
looks like some questionable driving, but we'll have to leave that for the review.
Oh,
More contact between Frank and Adam. And Michael's knocking on the door of the podium once again. Didn't think I'd be saying that in this race after you lost the podium earlier, but there we are. You've got to be in the right place at the right time to make the most of the opportunities that come your way. And with the fast charging Renault Coots out of the picture now, it comes down to this quartet at the front. Tom Salmon of Teamwork Racing, followed by Teamwork Racing Frank and TCR Adam. And not forgetting MRC Michael. 3 laps to go, including this one. This race is going the way that the last one went, with 2 Teamwork Racing drivers currently occupying the top 2 spots. But no doubt that TC Racing's Adam has the bit between his teeth and wants to try and get back up to within touching distance of Salmonen, who had contact with him. Ooh, Frank gives Salmonen a bit of a nudge there, that won't have helped.
Salmonen losing time in the corners. Oh, Frank runs wide, opening the gap for Adam, side by side. Frank with the inside line. Adam touching Frank into the long right-hander, keeping contact,
Ooh,
which opens Michael now. The door around the outside into second position, and Renault Coots now from the back, overtaking Adam.
so I kind of ruled Michael out there, which probably wasn't fair because the Teamwork Racing teammates have not been making life easy for themselves. And Adam's been getting in the mix there as well. we are on the penultimate lap. One more lap to go. And second place is
they're
anyone's
going
game.
through wide.
Yeah, there's
Adam rubbing on the braking zone.
contact with Michael, contact with
Hold
Adam,
them.
and that's Adam on his roof and out of this race. He will abort that race, no doubt, or try and get the car to the finish. Looks like Salmonen's on his way to victory after all. There's a lot of racing with a lot of aggressive and angry racing out there at this late stage in the race. Drivers seeing the red mist from earlier bumps and scrapes.
Yeah, but suddenly TJ is now in contention for third position.
Yeah, I mean, after Adam and Renault Koots have been removed from the situation, this is allowing drivers that wouldn't have otherwise been able to take a podium place in this race to have a chance. TJ finished the last race in P3, remember. Can he get another podium? If he can get past Frank, then he'll be the only driver this round to make it onto the podium in both races. And will deny Team Racing a second podium finish, but it's still very close.
Oh,
The battle on your screen is for P2 in race 2, and we are on the final lap. It looks like Tom Salmon, if he can navigate the last couple of corners, will have the race sealed.
yeah. TJ into third for now, but the last 3-4 corners are still ahead.
We've seen incidents in this corner the last 3 laps.
Michael holding the inside line. TJ to the outside. Michael compromising his line very much. TJ can now go to the inside, but Michael still has a run.
Rick Cardle's all over this as well now, but it looks like
Oh,
Tom Salmonen will round the final corner to win race 2 of the Team Rock Racing 2020
oh,
Championship.
side by side, Nico and Maddie. And it goes to Nico.
Michael picks up P2. TJ will get the double podium. Frank in P number 3. Then it's Rick Cardle for Sidus. Then it's Renault Koots in P number 6. Yes Motorsports Unite will finish in P7. Team Racing's Maddie P8. Kaike Peroppo finishes P9. Rounding out our top 10, it's Team Racing Crin. Road Appraiser's Pedro just outside the top 10 in 11th. Gavin Pete in 12th for Team Racing. TC Racing's Adam, a race that could have been. He was knocking on the door of a podium and it all went horribly wrong for him in the double left-hander on the penultimate lap. He finishes in P13. Yes Motorsports Gabor never really had the pace today. Finishes in P14. Spiky, after a promising start to this race, finishes down in P15. Magic was there or thereabouts all day, finishes P16. Reject P17. TC Racing's Chris McElroy P18. Team Racing's Jaban in 19th. Race Green Autosports Mandula P20. Timu Soini, Jari Katila and Pekka Koivunen, the World Class Lions trio, finished 21st through 23rd. And Texas rounds out the 24 finishers in race 2 in P24.
Wow. That's been something.
Yeah, the last few laps did definitely look like they were being driven by the drivers' angry brains, shall we say. It didn't look particularly clean at all, but nonetheless, Salmon drove a good race. Michael, pretty much innocent from what I could tell, with probably the cleanest drive to the front. Started at the front and managed to keep it there.
Maybe the
With
only
Salmonen.
one with a cleaner drive was Salmonen, who was at the top throughout most of the race.
Yeah, we'll have to look over the races of those guys post, but yeah, it was something. We'll hang around for a few minutes to see whether any of the drivers would like to come and have a word with us. But otherwise, we should let you know that the race for in this series next week is at Aston Grand Touring in the NGTs, the XFR and UFR. So some kind of tin top racing, mini GTR racing at Aston Grand Touring. Should be a good one. That'll be round 24 of the championship.
Actually, there's been a Ronnie fun race lately using that track, and I think the XF was really a lot of fun around this track. So that's, I think, going again to produce very interesting racing.
Yeah, I've had a lot of fun in the XFR and the UFR. The UFR, especially at Aston, in a 24-hour race once before. That was really good fun. Um, so hopefully another action-packed round. This time next week from 19 UTC on the Sim Broadcasts Twitch. If you've enjoyed what you've seen today, please consider following or subscribing to our channel. We also have a YouTube channel, Twitter and Facebook, so go and do all the good stuff to keep up to date with us. The next broadcast on our channel will be the New Dimension Racing GT2 Challenge finale next Saturday. No, it is this Saturday. Sorry, June
Yes.
13th. It's come around so quickly. That's why I was confused. Seems only yesterday we were doing round 3, but yeah, the champion will be crowned for the um, inaugural New Dimension Racing GT2 Challenge. It's been an absolutely fantastic series so far and very successful. I think everybody involved in that series has enjoyed themselves, and that will start live on the Sim Broadcast Twitch channel from 1800 UTC. Coming up in a couple of weeks' time, or next weekend, it's the first round of the Open Endurance Cup, organised by the one and only Thilo Falkenberg. Thilo, do you want to talk to us a little
Hello.
bit about your series that you've got coming up?
So the Open Endurance Cup is an endurance championship with an open format. That means you can decide what car you want to take. Within the classes, there is a balance of performance, this time by mandatory pit stop times. The races are 500 kilometers long, and this will produce about 3 to 3.5 hours, depending on the track. And I think it's going to be very much fun as we use this season the NGTRs and the LRF class. So very, very different cars, which also in turn will produce very interesting strategies. And yeah, I'm looking forward to it.
We're looking forward to it very much as well. Join us then for the inaugural round of the Open Endurance Cup. Thilo won't be commentating on his own league, I imagine, but we'll certainly get you involved in the streams in some form or another, I hope, whilst you're doing your admin duties during the lengthy races that we've got going on there. Please sign up for that. It's over on the LFS forum, a great series with a good history and a lot of good teams already signed up. So make sure you are one of them on the grid for the Open Endurance Cup. Doesn't look like we've got anybody who's coming to say hi to us after that one, so we'll love you and leave you. All that's left to say is thank you, Thilo, and
Yeah, it was a pleasure.
thank you to everybody who watched. Good to have you back in the commentary box, albeit probably temporarily, I imagine, as your Tuesday evenings have become rather busy again. But yeah, thank you very much. We will see you on Saturday for the New Dimension Racing GT2 Challenge finale. Good night.